Hi friends! I wanted to take a walk out in the garden after all this rain we've been getting. It has been extremely stormy in Central Texas. Yesterday was a deluge, like over 2 inches of rain, and it came down like the bottom just fell out of the sky. But I was pretty worried about the garden, even though I couldn't get out and look at it, so I thought I'd come take a look today with you guys. Come along. Radishes! They're still thriving, they're still doing well. The rain did not beat them down. In fact, they actually look like they loved it. You can actually start to see radishes now. They aren't, quite big and round enough yet, but they're forming their roots, and they're gonna just keep on getting a little bit bigger and becoming yummy, delicious radishes before you know it. And once I pick this crop, I'm just gonna fill this tub up again with the next set of seeds, because this was just half a pack of seeds, and I'm gonna have radishes again in 3 more weeks, or 3 to 4 more weeks once I pick these. The tomatoes are very happy about the rain. They've set some fruit. I debated about whether or not to let them keep this fruit, because the plants are still kind of small and I really want the root system to get developed. But I did go ahead and let them keep that fruit. I have picked off some of the fruit. This one's looking really good. This is my Golden Jubilee, which is an heirloom tomato, and it's going to be one of the yellow pear-shaped tomatoes, but larger than the cherry pear-shaped type. Several of tomatoes are setting fruit and looking quite well. Need to stake up some of the stems a little bit higher. This one doesn't even have its stake yet, but we're going to do that. And then I was also worried. I planted a bunch of chamomile seeds last Sunday. Chamomile seeds are tiny, like really tiny. You can't plant them in the wind. You have to be pretty careful when you do. So I'm not sure how I disperse them properly or not, but I do know that it is too soon to start seeing any kind of germination out of them, but it looks like the soil that I planted them in did not get too disturbed. I showed you the sunflowers last week, and they all held up to the rain, and the chamomile is planted around the sunflowers. I thought that would just be a nice low crop that, well, the chamomile's not that low. It's going to be a couple of feet high, but the sunflower is going to be lots of feet high, so we'll have a big sunflower with the chamomile coming up around it, and then the 2 pepper plants that I picked up. Those are both jalapeno pepper plants. And the rest of it still needs planting. It's just been a little wet. I did start some seeds inside that I'll show you. And that's what's going to be going into the rest of it, but I don't really like planting or digging in the mud. We also have more rain forecasted, so once we get past this really rainy spell, I'm gonna get the rest of this planted. The greenhouse is also really coming along. Ray's been working on the shelving inside. As you can see, this the 2x4s that he's doing the shelving has really reinforced this greenhouse, where it used to kind of wiggle and rock if you put your hand on it and shook it. It's now very stabilized, and I'm gonna have lots of shelving for all my potted plants and different plants that I am going, and seeds I'm going to start out here. Also the high beams, which stabilize the ceiling some, I'm going to use to have some hanging plants in. Besides a functional place to start seeds, I just want this to be a very personal space, my she shed, if you will. So I'm going to decorate it and spend time in it. Super excited for it to be getting finished. And the rain again has kind of slowed that construction down. As you can see on the ladder, Ray tried to work in it a little bit, but the ground is just still muddy, and even just going up the ladder, it was just getting to be a muddy mess. So he decided, he worked on some stuff on the inside yesterday while so much rain was going on. But with all that rain, of course, our rainwater collection tank did fill up. We used that, like I was saying in earlier videos, to water. We'll water the grapes in the heat of the summer if they need it. They don't always need it. Most of the time the grapes hold their own and have tapped in deep enough roots to sustain themselves. But in a really hot summer with drought, they do need the help. The grapevines have loved this rain. It is catch-22 with a lot of rain and grapevines because they are so susceptible to fungus. But as soon as this last set of rain goes by, Ray will get out here and spray the fungicide again. And this is the time of the year I start going around and just tucking these canes that are growing up into the trellising system. This helps with the canopy of the grapes. You want to create a little bit of shade so that the fruit doesn't just completely burn. And you know, the growth is just so tremendous when we have this much rain that a couple of times a week I just have to come out here and tuck some of these up in, if I can without breaking them, of course, and try and keep them within their trellis system. Here are some baby grapes. These are actually baby Cabernet Sauvignon. This will be class of 2021, I call it, because Cabernet does need to, you know, go through its whole fermentation and then oak and then their bottling process, and you don't want to open a Cabernet before 2 years. So with this being 2019 grapes, it's going to make a bottle that says 2021. No, I'm sorry. The bottle will say 2019, but we won't open it and drink it until 2021. So class of 2021 Cabernet Sauvignon from Ramey Vines. Introduction to them right here. The pathways between the grapes are out of control. I had mentioned how I did not want to mow too much because I love my beautiful wildflowers, but once the ground hardens up enough from this rain, I am definitely going to have to mow and weed eat in here so that all of this greenery and ground cover is not sucking too many nutrients from the vines themselves. I do want to show you this Cabernet Sauvignon vine. This is our oldest vine in the vineyard. I mean, the whole row really is, but this particular one has grown more heartily than the others. And I just love looking at the size of that trunk and the cordons that go off to the side. It's a beautiful grapevine that's getting some great age on it. And it does make some wonderful grapes. So we're going to be working out here soon when we get some better weather. We've got to pick off suckers. I cut off branches that grow up from the bottom of the vine. I really want all the canes and branches going up from the cordon and not down and too unruly. This one here started growing from the bottom. Some vineyards do allow those to grow because they do have some grapes on them, and you want, of course, the best production that you can get from your vines. But I just don't want the unruliness of the under vines growing from the bottom and taking more nutrients away from the grapes that set up where they're supposed to. You want all the grapes you can get, but you also want really good quality grapes. So you've got to pick and choose which canes can make the grapes, and pick and choose which clusters of grapes can actually stay on and become, you know, your set of clusters, your set of grape clusters that you want to put in your wine. Example of a sucker for sure is this one. We've got the trunk coming up. I don't want it to start growing grapes until it reaches the first line on the trellis system. So these need to come off. And a lot of times when they're just little bitty suckers, I can just pinch them off, but these have gotten pretty big, so I need my shears for that. I want to just snip them off, you know, nice and clean. I don't want to twist or rip them. They can get bacteria and fungus in them when they're damaged that way. So a good, nice, clean cut at an angle so the water can drip off is your best bet when you're pruning suckers and or just trimming your vines. Here's another example of some suckers. This one's probably small enough here for me to just snip off. Yeah, so that one's good. But that does become a point where some bacteria or fungus could enter, so I want to keep an eye on, you know, any kind of black looking growth that might grow on that, and give it some extra spray if I have to. Another sucker here, but that one's just a little bit big for pulling off my hand. So just a reminder that I've got a lot of work to do. I need to get out here and get those suckers off, get all these canes tucked up into their system. And this is a Tempranilla. This is one of our Tempranillas from our vine. Again, class of 2021. The Tempranillas need to not be open for 2 years as well. So all of these are tiny baby grapes that are going to be in a bottle someday. Thanks for hanging out with me. Look at this beautiful little collection of some sulfur butterflies. This is the area out by Ray's shop where he'll work on the tractor or the planters, and I think probably a little bit of seed got dropped here and sprouted a bit. It attracted some beautiful yellow butterflies. Look at all of them. They're so sweet. They just look like little pieces of paper that are just flapping around in the wind. I think that's a bunch of hungry birds. I don't think I've ever formally introduced all of you YouTube friends of mine to the quackers. These are this year's group of ducks. I feel pretty sure they're khaki Campbells. Please feel free to comment your opinion or your expert advice on that. I just got them at TSC. I bought 8 ducks, and it looks like from their coloring that I got fortunate enough to have 4 drakes and 3 hens paired up nicely. I call them the quackers, and they all have names that are cracker names. They are Triscuit, Goldfish, Club, Graham, Cheez-It, Wheat Thins, and Saltine. I think I got them all in there. There are 8 of them. If I didn't name all 8 of them, just think of the next cracker name, and that's what they are. Ducks are a delight. I find them comical and fun to watch, but I will say they are so messy, with a capital M. When they lay eggs, they walk all over them with their muddy feet. The eggs are muddy. I do have a wash to clean them up. I leave the eggs the way they are until I'm ready to use them, and then wash them right before I use them. This is last year's flock. The 2 flocks really aren't mixing very well. Last year's flocks I call the Rappers. That's Dr. Dre, Foxy Brown, Cardi B, Lil Wayne, Vanilla Ice. That's this guy right here, Vanilla Ice. See that curly feather on the back right where his tail flips up? That makes him a drake. He is a drake, and that's his drake feather. Just like this one here, Dr. Drake. You see his curly feather? That's how, besides their feathering and their coloring, that's how you can tell a drake versus a hen, is that one curly feather that the drakes get on the back of where their tail just starts. They are a great group of ducks, although they're not as friendly as I would like for them to be. They've gotten a little bit more friendly with me feeding them treats, but they still won't just come up and let me pet them. But they are still such a delight to watch. They're just funny. They absolutely love the mud, the water. It's a must that if you ever get ducks that you have, you know, a source of water, that can just be a blue plastic swimming pool, or you can have enough space where my husband dug out this tank. Now, it doesn't stay full all the time. It depends on the rain, and of course we've had a lot of rain lately. We do use a blue plastic swimming pool for the times that this little dugout tank goes dry. The dugout tank can get quite messy, so we put just a little sump pump in the bottom of it and drain it, and then I'll, you know, just give them fresh water in this blue plastic pool every day, because it's important too for their water to be very fresh. They, you know, shouldn't drink stagnant water that could be growing bacteria that has a lot of algae in it. But other than messy, ducks are absolutely wonderful, and I can't speak highly enough of their eggs. I bake with them. They make the fluffiest cakes and pancakes. I eat them just scrambled. They have not really a stronger taste to them than chicken eggs, but it's just different. The yolk is very large, so I know I'm getting a lot of that really good omega-3 that free-range birds can give you. They eat bugs and grass, and that makes the yolks even more orange and more full of omega-3 and other good things, I'm sure. There's King George. King George lives outside the birdhouse because he's got the age and the ability to fly over, and I think he just, you know, don't fence me in is his motto. He lives outside looking in, and he's got a couple of hens that stay outside of it with him. They've come in here before, and I've, you know, coaxed them all in here before, but the next day I do find them outside. And I think that's because they've learned that they've just got enough strength and enough feathers to hop up to the top of this fence and get on over. But they do hang out near and close. His ladies are Queen Elizabeth and Queen Victoria. They all roam together outside the fence, and they sleep in the cedar trees at night. The inside chickens, which are just this year's chickens, have not actually started laying yet. They live in here. They'll hang out in that little house out there. It's got some nesting boxes in it, and they do have a couple of coops that they can get in and out of.